community. And
This is the playwright, the director, and the star of As We Stand. We're at the WP Theater. There's a talk back after the performance today.
Who does that? Who does it? And how many of you have felt, whether it's a local community or a social community or how you culturally identify or racially identify or gender identify, have felt on the outside of that thing?
Excuse me. What do you mean? Can you break it down like details?
Yeah. How have you felt that you do not belong to the generally accepted norm of what society says you should be? Whether that's in your community, your Black community, whether that's in your economic community, that's in your neighborhood, that's in your school, that's inside of your body. How many of you have felt on the outside?
Thank you.
Okay,
And
so
that
that's
overwhelming
Donnetta,
need to
Tamilla,
try to find yourself at the center of
David.
something, right? To feel like you are justified for being. To know the value that you feel somewhere in here for somebody else to actually see it in you. That's the thing that we're talking about here, which is 100% of the people some of the time. It may not be 100% of the time. So we know what it is to be on the outskirts, to want to be on the inside. We know what it is to feel our value, to feel our destiny, and to not figure out how to have that reflected in how people talk to us, or how they look at us, or the kinds of opportunities that are made for us. 100% of the people, some of the time.
Question.
This is for you, Tamilla and David. When you read a play such as this, do you have rage as a reaction or sadness?
This play, surprisingly, it's interesting. You have different passes on things, kind of as an actor, right? Like I read at something first, and I just I have a general kind of feeling about it. And for this, it gave me a little bit of a sense of homesickness because Donnetta and I come from a similar place, so it reminded me of home. It made me feel sad. It made me feel. I also felt like I was on this like luscious, amazing, visceral language kind of journey. So it was a more of an intellectual appreciation. But then in the rehearsing of it, it's actually been incredibly. It's touched on aspects in myself that I didn't realize how deeply connected I was to the piece. So it's kind of. I don't know if that makes sense, but like reading it initially is a different thing than like being in it. Mm-hmm. And being in it, I've been very surprised by what it's brought up for me, and a very kind of deep well of feeling that that kind of blindsided me. And Tamilla and I, worked she's all out of that. But it was like, it asked something of me. That I guess I didn't see when I first read it. It wasn't until I was in it that I was like, whoa, that's a deep well, if that makes sense. That was all very artsy-fartsy about.
Well, no, I think like in performance, you're asked to do something very different that actors aren't asked to do quite a bit. Like we're in the audience with you, we're communicating, eye contact, the lights are all the way up. So we are here, we are very, very, very present. It's a very vulnerable situation. So when you add that on top of talking about loneliness, about being an outsider, it becomes a very visceral kind of a thing. Even though the language is poetic and that kind of thing, it kind of like really unlocks a thing for you. And if the actor can open that, then an audience can receive it. That's right.
I don't have rage about this, I have hope.
Mm-hmm.
This piece makes me feel hopeful in the fact that you get to choose, the audience, to every day a small community of people, 40, 30, 5, 75, 104, get to choose mercy or justice. Yeah. They get to exercise that thought. Whether the way they vote is how they really feel is different.
Yeah.
but at least you're thinking about it.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. People will contact me the day after and go, "How did I vote again? What did I do? What happened?" And because they start thinking about, because we complicate the vote really with his story, you know.
Yeah. And I think about it sometimes in it. Like tonight, I don't know. It just occurred to me, like, oh, I wonder if, oh, wow. I don't know. Like, I had a thought about, like, if I were watching today, my vote might be a little different. You know, because just in terms of how I don't know. It's interesting.
I'm curious now that on the other side of the play, there's a man who loved the town. He gave a whole bunch of stuff to the town. He forgot to tell the town that there was one rule we shouldn't break. He broke the rule. Then all your stuff is all screwed up and destroyed. And the stranger says, "I'll give you back your town if you send that guy to jail. Or you can keep this reprobate." Reprobate? Is that how you say it? Reprobate.
Could be both.
Oh.
That you can keep this reprobate or this crippled man, and then you just have to build from this destruction yourself. Now, really, just really, I want you to think about, on your block, if everybody's starving, and the man that lives downstairs from you, if Bloomberg shows up and he's like, "I'll take that man, and then I'll make sure you guys eat for a year." Close your eyes. Just close your eyes real quick. Okay. If you vote to save the man, raise your hands. Put your hands down. Keep your eyes closed. If you vote to give this man over to Bloomberg so everybody can eat for a year, raise your hands. Great. Thank you. It's a little more even.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that is something that we found is like, what does it mean to vote in public?
And it's not, it's, what is the thing? The one for the,
Sacrifice the one for the many. Yeah.
Sacrifice the one.
That's right, yeah.
Well, Donnetta, when you wrote it, you didn't have Bloomberg in mind particularly,
No.
did you?
No, I wasn't thinking about
Yeah.
that. No, I was honestly, it was really, you know, the thing about fables, parables is that they can be associated to anything that's happening in the world right now, right? Especially, like, there's nothing particularly radical about this story. We complicate it, though, with language, and we complicate it with the steps that this man takes, right? And we complicate it with the vote at the end. But my greatest concern was how we, as this community that we build in real time, how do we see each other? Who are we in relationship to this man right here, right now? And then how do we take that out into the world? So I didn't have a greater political sort of thought about it, but I knew that if I made it this local, it was going to be that big. Yes.
If a woman was in that same position, it'd be a different play.
Well, we'll see.
You see me after if you want to come back, okay?
Yeah.
I'll make sure you come back.
But also, I have to say though, you know, in the way that I carry myself, I can be a little masculine of center too. So if there was like a very high feminine woman up here, that might be a different vote as well. So it just like for me, it's about the body that's presented in space, right? How do we come in with our biases? How do we come in already ready to forgive somebody just based on how they look? You know, like, oh, that's a good looking, hey, we got men. Or you know what I mean? Or if it's somebody who's able-bodied or not, like how do we put our prejudices on someone to say that they deserve or do not deserve justice? You know, so this play is meant to be taken in several different hands. And I think the result will differ community to community, body to body, and that's the exact purpose of it. Yes. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. You didn't see me. I'm a shy person. But my name is Angel. I do poetry.
Yeah.
And I as I was looking at the show, reality, we have homeless people. You know, and I would like to be a part of a play. I would like to be a part of the creating the reality in today's society. I have experience, and I would like justice. Like, you know how they say no justice, no peace? This is the history mark, the history day. We as people, we are suffering in today's society. You have homeless people. I'm a homeless person. Not to put it out there, but we won't know unless we confess, like you said, experience. I'm a homeless woman, and every day you have, excuse my tone, I get excited, but every day you have somebody sleeping on a train, sleeping on anywhere and everywhere. DHS today is not helping us disabled people, and they're more quick to abuse us and see us, get paid for us to suffer than anything else. Single families, regardless, domestic violence, I've been through it all. And personally, I would like to be a part of the poetry, the art, justice. Today's society, I said that I would like to say that man, that everybody walk over, because this is every day. We are in the city of New York. We want to complain about the suffering of people being homeless and being on the street. This is something we see every day, but what are we doing? Society, we can't make it, we can make it coming together. We spread the rumor. Justice, judgment, everybody created.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll grab you right after.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
What I want to say actually builds on what you just said, and this was so relevant for me from the perspective of how for decades urban renewal, making things more beautiful, aesthetic, in communities has meant the removal of the poorest people. And I have a friend who published a book, and one of the chapters says urban renewal equals needle removal. And how our desire to have more beautiful neighborhoods makes us forget sometimes that what makes the neighborhood valuable is the people that live in it. And we live in a city, building on what you say, where we have overdevelopment. It's crazy. But it's not a city, I think a country, many places where we have this overdevelopment and we're building more and more, and every day we have more people sleeping on the streets. And I make the connection how like we are exchanging the community built by the people for these beautiful spaces at the cost of human life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just a couple of more questions. Just want to make sure get up here too.
From a writer's standpoint, I would like to know, what was your driving force to connect music to the actual screenplay? Because it started off with the brother standing in the audience with like a slave or a church hymnal, and then the music went through.
Yeah, I think for me, just a part of my writing as a whole, music, poetry, sort of connect for me. They're just sort of an organic dealing. So a lot of the plays that I have written have a little bit of music. All of them have poetry in it. It's I sneak it in there somehow. But this kind of I wrote a solo show years ago with music in it because I was scared to death of singing in front of people. And now I can't stop doing it for solo shows. Because there's something about music that can connect to something in a more efficient way emotionally, sometimes than text, and or that can create a instant sort of reaction / mood, like tear the whole thing down, is a quick-paced song, but with the information inside of it is pretty damning, So it has it moves in a very particular way that I probably couldn't have done with like an elongated kind of text. But music and poetry always live in this a similar space for me, and they're articulated kind of.
You did a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Someone over here, I think.
Oh, I have a question. So in the beginning of the play, we have an exile, but I'm talking like baseline for the community or the town. Was it like impoverished, or like, because I know by the end of the play it's described as like you eat fruit and it like cuts your mouth, and it is like a war zone. So was it like that in the beginning?
Yeah. So in that song, Tear the Whole Thing Down, you have a teacher saying that she has no resources, cracked walls and floors. You know, books about as old as I am, no supplies, cracked walls and floors. There's no jobs left here to hold them. The one man. So they're talking about their actual status in the community. It's like, you can find this kind of community anywhere on the map in America. You know, where resources are being pulled from schools, resources are being, taken out of for job enhancement, things like that. So it can be a rural town, which in my imagination it is, but it also is very much an urban town. It's also very much suburbias that have been left to neglect. So it's very much an American city.
A place where people have forgotten the value of it.
Yeah.
So would you say like from the beginning to the end, does it return to the same?
No,
state?
it's worse. So the man says a darker. What does he say? I know. Listen, I gotta do it.
I go through the whole play to get to like.
Yeah. No, he says that a darker reality than what you had before. So it was dark before.
And even in their tearing the whole thing down, you know, they're ripping like the little bit that they have. They're like, let's scratch it all so we can have the most fabulous thing. So they really are left with nothing.
I really love the like idealism, like that I experienced as a person. Like I want to like show mercy, because like as people, like that's what we hope to become and strive to. Like that idealism of I could forgive and show mercy, but it's also like the reality of like, you know, this is one man's want. Can I service one man's want at the expense of everybody?
Yeah.
And to be damned for it, like it's worse. Like I can't. How is that like?
Yeah.
It's not even mercy in a sense. Like
Sacrifice. Right. Yeah, I know. That's exactly right.
Did anybody feel stressed out, Lodi? I've had people who are just like, no, I don't want to.
I do not want to vote. One more.
It's not really a question. My name is Harmony.
Okay, Harmony.
So I was invited to see this play by my school, and it was actually really nice. But when I watched it, it made me think. Oddly enough, it made me think of death row because of the unjust system, how sacrificing one for the whole country, instead of just a community, but punching that person to death by a group of people who don't even know him and don't know his story, don't know where he came from, don't know how he got to where he is today, and how he has to spend the rest of his life waiting for that moment where he's just gonna die and people are gonna watch him. You asked if anybody felt frustrated. I'm not someone that really gets frustrated easily, but thinking about that while watching the play, it did make me frustrated because it's unjust. I don't understand it, and I felt that there needs to be justice in this because, for one thing, death row is not something that we need. We don't need to condemn people to death. That's not our choice. That's the choice of every individual to die when their time is needed.
Isn't it interesting that what you just inspired me to think of is that everyone has a story, and it's important that this man tells his story in front of his town. It's important that he says, I have a beginning, I have a middle, and this is how we got here together. You know, we are all in this together. My story. Oh no, you didn't. You know, so it's important. Like, what if we knew that everyone had a value, that everyone had a beginning? You know, what if we knew that we were in concert with each other? You know, so that I think that it's important for him to tell his story.
And for us to consider the circumstances that compel our actions. And I think we can find much more forgiveness and mercy when we actually give consideration to the circumstances that compel the violent actions that we have towards each other.
I also think that if we hadn't known the previous story before the town started to love him, if we hadn't known how he met this golden man, then we would have probably voted differently.
I think so too. I think so too.
I know you said
Yes.
we didn't know his story, and we were in town. What moved me the most was the thing that caused us to pay attention to this one man that we didn't even realize was a part of the play until he started doing something that made us all kind of, who is that? Why is he doing that?
Yeah.
You know, it was good, it was good.
Yeah.
But he kept doing it.
Yeah.
And got our attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then got us involved in what he was doing. Whether we knew what he was doing or not, like, okay, maybe he just sang a song to play stars, is that it?
That is exactly why the hum is there, because you actually have the experience of going, I don't know what we're doing, but okay, I'll do it. Oh, I'm doing it. Why am I doing it? I'm doing it. Oh, I'm doing it. I kind of like it. I know the words now. I'm doing it. You know? Right. Yeah. Yes. Right. Yes. Yeah. And that's what happens. The man's like, well, let's just go along. We go along to get along, right? And we do it in our voting. We do it in our families. We acquiesce. We give up our choices.
Yeah.
In order to be a part of the larger collective. Because what we want more than anything is to belong. Yeah.
That's great.
No good answers! You guys are fantastic.
Thank you so much.
I want to just offer